studied about Nazi criminality during the Second World War in the previous session. In this session, we will discuss about the Nazi worldview. Nazi believed that there was no equality between people and their ideology and practices believed in racial hierarchy. It was this belief of racial hierarchy which made them to commit such crimes. In this belief of racial hierarchy, blonde, blue-eyed Nordic German Aryans were at the top while Jews were placed at the bottom. Jews came to be regarded as an anti-race and the arch-enemies of Aryans. All other colored people were placed in between depending upon their external features. Thinkers like Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer influenced Hitler's racism view. Children, you must have heard about Darwin's theory of evolution and natural selection. Herbert Spencer gave the idea of survival of the fittest. Nazis used these theories to justify their arguments that the strongest race would survive and the weak ones would perish. Darwin's ideas were used by racist thinkers and politicians to justify imperial rule over conquered peoples. The other aspect of Hitler's ideology related to the geopolitical concept of Lebensraum or living space. According to this, new territories had to be acquired for settlement. Hitler believed that this would enhance the area of the mother country while enabling the settlers on new lands to retain an intimate link with their mother country. He believed that with this, the material resources and power of the Germany would also enhance. Hitler intended to concentrate all Germans geographically in one place and for this wanted to extend German boundaries by moving eastward. Invention of Poland was the first step in this direction. Establishment of racial state. In the extended empire, Nazi quickly started to physically eliminate all those who were seen as undesirable and began to implement their dream of creating an exclusive racial community of pure Germans. Nazis wanted only a society of pure and healthy Nordic Aryans. They alone were considered desirable. Only they were seen as worthy of prospering and multiplying. All others were classed as undesirable. This meant that even those Germans who were seen as impure or abnormal had no right to exist. Children, going back to the story of Helmut and his father. Helmut's father, along with other Nazi officials, had condemned to death many Germans who were considered mentally or physically unfit. Jews were not the only community classified as undesirable. There were others like gypsies and blacks living in Nazi Germany who were widely persecuted. They were considered as racial inferiors who threatened the biological purity of the superior Aryan race. Even Russians and Poles were considered subhuman. When Germans occupied Poland and parts of Russia, captured civilians were forced to work as slave labor. Many of them died simply through hard work and starvation. Because of Nazis' hatred of Jews, Jews remained the worst sufferers in Nazi Germany. This was also because of traditional Christian hostility towards Jews. Jews were barred from owning land. They survived mainly through trade and money lending. They lived in separately marked areas called ghettos. They were often persecuted through periodic organized violence and expulsion from the land. However, Hitler's hatred for Jews was based on pseudoscientific theories of race, which held that conversion was no solution to the Jews' problem. It could be solved only through their total elimination. From 1933 to 1938, the Nazi terrorized, pauperized, and segregated the Jews, compelling them to leave the country. The next phase, 1939 to 1945, aimed at concentrating them in certain areas and eventually killing them in gas chambers in Poland. The racial utopia under the shadow of war, the Nazi proceeded to realize their murderous racial ideals. Genocide and war became two sides of the same coin. During occupied Poland was divided up. Much of northwestern Poland was annexed to Germany. Poles were forced to leave their homes and properties behind to be occupied by ethnic Germans brought in from occupied Europe. Poles were then herded like cattle in the other part called the the general government, the destination of all undesirables of the empire. Members of Polish intelligentsia were murdered in large numbers in order to keep the entire people intellectually and spiritually servile. Polish children who looked like Aryans were forcibly snatched from their mothers and examined by the race experts. If they passed the race test, they were raised in German families, and if not, they were deposited in orphanages where most perished. With some of the largest ghettos and gas chambers, the general government also served as the killing fields for the Jews. Children, with this we come to the end of this chapter. In next session, we will study about the youth in Nazi Germany. Thank you.